I had about 50 beanies, so scattered all over the place.
Yeah.
I can never find them.
Welcome back, everyone, to the Speed Management hearings. We are now kicking off with our 10 a.m. block. I'd like to welcome James Brodie up to the. If you'd like to join us, James. James is submission number 97 of the main pack, or speakers pack submission number 9. Take a seat, James. You have 10 minutes allocated to you to speak to us today. It is suggested that you make your presentation during the first 5 or 6 minutes and allow a few minutes for questions from members. Your allocated time includes both your presentation and question time from members. And Amy will give you a wee wave when we're coming to minute 9 so that you know that you're about to run out of time. And other than that, kick off when you are ready.
Thank you for the input. I have handed around the table with my points on it. I didn't submit it in time for to go with the compilation. So I'd like to make a few points. Firstly, Martinborough is recognised as a tourism destination, and with that, it has specific recognition of its cycling and pedestrian capability, particularly around, obviously around the town, around the vineyards. So I think that the speed management plan should recognise that tourism is the driver, and that it's important to the liability of the town. That it will, it's already increased at a phenomenal rate the last 20 years. I used to operate a vineyard and sell a door. So we had a lot of cyclists at my property. And of course, we're up Dublin Street, up the top end of Dublin Street. So people would come up there and then they would travel around to Colombo, wasn't Colombo, then further out to the other vineyards. So basically, all the area of the town which is encompassed by the Salvador's, it actually, I think, should be recognised as part of the tourism destination for and you know, currently we've had 1 fatality and some serious injuries. Not cycling, but and I think the speed management plan should take a much longer view rather than focus just solely on the current situation. Should recognise that there's going to be growth, should recognise the areas that are covered by that development, and should plan accordingly. So they need to have a much longer view, a much longer focus. No one wants to really repeat this whole consultation process in, say, 3 or 4 years' time if the numbers have radically increased. So the town is already a cycling destination, but it doesn't, as long as we have an agreed cycling or pedestrian development plan. I think it definitely needs one. It's part of all that the peri-urban roads actually carry more concentrated tourist traffic than the internal roads around Martin Road. And I think we should recognise that. Another suggestion is that they would be set at 60 kilometres. My personal view is that this is too high. Because the majority of the periodical designated roads are actually on sidewalk and pedestrian vineyard experience currently, if you look on the map. My suggestion is that we should limit all peri-urban roads to a maximum of 50 kilometres. And along that, in the proposed plan, there's a whole lot of different speedings. 70, 100, 70, 60, 50, 40. I think this is going to be somewhat confusing for people who are coming into Martin from the outside. In my view, I think it would be more appropriate to just simply designate the Martinborough town, the extended Martinborough town area as 50k, as 50k area. People will then know once they've come in that they're actually in 50k and they continue to be in 50k area until they actually get out onto the outskirts once again. I think it will be. I think it's confusing, and I don't think it's necessary. You know, the difference saved in time between travelling at 60 kilometres an hour over 1 kilometre and 50 kilometres an hour over 1 kilometre is 12 seconds. But the difference between being hit by a car when you're a pedestrian or cyclist at 60 kilometres an hour compared to hitting 50 kilometres an hour is that you double the fatality. Give them a couple of examples of research that's been done overseas in terms of pedestrians, fatality rates and speed in Western Australia. But there are numerous examples of research that have been done in this area which demonstrate the consequences of being hit at a slightly faster speed. And finally, I think the local community will be happy to work with council on developing and implementing a cycle pedestrian friendly town with a proper development plan. There's plenty of room in the town to do it. I know they've been proposed before, but they've never been followed through or action. There is enough room on the Puritano Road, for example, for there to be separate cycling and pedestrian way all the way down the road. And everybody knows that everybody who's a person has come across groups of cyclists who would be better if they were on a cycle designated road than on the main road, even though we give them plenty of space and pass them very carefully. So those are my suggestions.
Thank you very, very much, James. I've got a question of clarification from Councillor Olds and then one from Councillor Macaulay.
Thanks, James. Very comprehensive submission. Just a quick question in terms of a separate cycle lane in particular, which I picked up on Puritano Road, is it? Yeah. Do you think there'd be an appetite from the vineyards to contribute towards the cost of something of that nature?
I've thought about that. I think we had a development plan and it was agreed within the community. And I think there's a lot of people here who have diggers, line works, and other equipment that it could be done without actually being a tremendous expense on the part of the council to contract it out to to contractors from outside that were really expensive. I mean, it could even be done on a sort of 100-metre donation in terms of digging out, laying and putting top surface on. It would have to be, it would obviously have to be agreed by council.
Sure. Yep.
But I think it's perfectly possible.
Yep.
And that it would, and that if we did that, it would be done.
Yeah, absolutely.
And years consultation and money to.
Thanks for that. Thanks very much.
Thank you. Councillor Corley.
Really nice, simplistic approach, but just an interesting, the idea of the whole area or the peri-urban. Because I know where your vineyard was, you used to bring a lot of people in on bikes, but there isn't any wine tourism down that road now, is there? I mean, there's no. No.
Traffic actually doesn't come to us because people who bought our vineyard don't want to sell the door.
Yeah, that's right.
But Claremont, of course, who let out, who had cycles, all their people tend to come up to Dublin Street Road and then down Tots Road.
Oh, okay. So there's still quite a lot of tourism bikes down that road.
Yeah, yes, and there's a lot of walking when Margaret is being walked by all sorts of groups at the moment. A lot of walking goes on, and at the moment it's all basically on roads.
Right. Thank you. So that is time. Thank you for your very informative presentation. Just confirming that there is some funding for a cycle pathway as discussed in this current LTP. So hopefully within the not too distant future, we'll see some action there. Thank you for your time today, James. We will be deliberating over the coming weeks. So we will take your submission, both verbal and written, into consideration. I think.
Thanks. Thanks very much, Jane.
Our next submitter is Alistair and Jenny Boyne. They are joining us online. Their submission is 185 in the main pack or 10 in today's speaker pack. Good morning, Jenny. I'm only not looking directly at you because if I look at you and speak, can't hear me. You have 10 minutes to present to members today. It is suggested that you make your presentation during the first 5 or 6 and allow time for questions from members at the end. And Amy will give you a wee wave as you get to minute 9 so that you know that your time is coming to an end. And now I can turn to Basil.
Thank you. Good morning, everybody, and thank you for allowing us to submit. We submitted a couple of years ago when this came round last time. Pretty short and sweet. I don't mind what you do in the roads. We don't mind what you do around the roads around Martinborough if they're congested with tourists and bikes and people. But the roads out our way, like the Rimutakas, no one can go 100 k's over them. Just leave us 100k limit from wherever you want to, the East Coast corner onwards, or just past Brackenridge, or wherever you've got your town perimeters, whether it's Shooting Butts Road turn off, and leave the rest 100 k's because we've already got several 30k zones on the way to the coast. So gravel roads, 100 k's, no one's going to monitor them unless you're going to put a speed camera up there. You can't even do 100 k's on most of them, so why do you need to add more signage to already rural road? That's all. And that's pretty much what we're submitting on.
Short and sweet this morning. You're a professional, Jenny. I love it. Again, I'm not turning my back on you deliberately, Jenny. I have a question for you from Councillor Plymmer.
Hi, Jenny, how are you?
Good, thanks, Alistair.
You know, I go back to the days when Tora and I used to drive out from there when we were 15, and I know Tora knows how to drive that road extremely well. Probably does it with his eyes closed. Would you suggest that there is significantly more tourism coming out towards the coast now than ever before?
Well, no, I think you said the same thing a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
We've got more people living out there now, so they're driving more, but lowering the speed limit, you've widened the roads, so you've taken away the water tables. So the roads now are currently, not because of anything, you can't do anything about heavier trucks, but we've got more trucks on the road, so therefore there's more holes in the road. So you've already got your 30k speed limits in the places that do need to have a 30k zone, so no one can complain about undulations, etc., like they've got on the same down the south coast. But there is no point. I mean, the Rimutakas, it's 100 k's. I can't drive the Rimutakas 100 k's an hour, so the amount of people is not going to make any difference whether it's got a 100k zone or a 50k zone. This is pointless. All I'm saying is it's just pointless with signage, and it's a waste of time and effort.
You don't think that there's been lots of ads on TV about when they put the speed sign up that what's the ad say? This is not a target.
Target, yeah. But honestly, no one is driving. No, there was 70 cars out last weekend on the coast. There was a surf comp. Not one of those cars was doing. I've travelled behind them, and they were doing 45 k's an hour from the gravel road all the way to the coast. They did not pull over. So that argument just doesn't stand for us. It's more people driving saying pull over. If you see someone behind you, please pull over. Yeah, that would be more appropriate rather than reducing the speed limit.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jenny. Any further questions for Jenny this morning? No. Thank you for being with us this morning, Jenny. Always insightful, and no doubt we'll see you again soon.
Probably run out of puff by then. Thank you very much. Have a nice day.
Thanks, Jenny. I have as next on my list Julian Downs, but Julian is not here, but Stuart is. So Stuart, if you would like to join us, Stuart's submission is main pack number 118 or today's speaking pack number 12.
I'm poorly prepared, you'll have to share.
What all the cable? Yeah, it's a bit of a tangle. Maybe just pass them to. Yes, just maybe pass.
Share that. Straight one to the chair, please.
Thank you, Stu. We just wouldn't want you to fall. Thank you. As with the previous speakers, Stu, you have 10 minutes in total. Please allow us some time for some questions near the end, if you wouldn't mind. And Amy will give you a wave when we get to about 9 minutes, just so you know that your time is coming to an end. Otherwise, when you're ready.
One basic proposal is to simplify those speed limits around Martinbrook. Currently, there are 6 different speed limits being proposed. I would propose that they stay at 30 to 50 kilometres. Confusing. There are also 20 proposed changes on signage around Martinbrook with different speed limits based on the council documents. The estimated cost of those is just under $18,000 based on the numbers in your council documents, which is an average of $880 per sign. Also, there's multiple charges just for Karuatonga and Hungaroa, $800 to remove signs in multiple places. So that actually makes sense. I propose that we simplify changes to 50 k's around the entire town perimeter. Reduce signage charges, only require about 4 signs. Estimated cost of that, using the costings that get provided, it's about $3,500 plus 2,100 square. So benefits, reduced cost to ratepayers, something we want for election should be in favour of. Simplified speed limits, less confusing. The only negative is a very slight increase in travel time, 10 kilometres reduction from plan in most cases. And as James has pointed out, 50% reduction in fatality potential. So Memorial Square, which is one little outlier to this plan, I've supported a proposal for 30 k's around the square. That goes back to the innovative streets. From what most people see in town, it was quite supportive. makes sense. However, saving of $2,800 could be had if this were left at 50 kilometres an hour. The traffic study provided by South Wairarapa shows that the mean average speed on the square is currently 27 kilometres an hour anyway. You can't even do 50 k's around the square. Current stats show 0.6 minor injuries per annum. The reduced speed limit would reduce this to 0.5 minor injuries per annum. I'm not sure quite what the physical difference is between 0.6 and 0.5. However, I would argue that if the mean average speed is now 27 kilometres an hour, changing the speed limit is unlikely to change that mean average speed. I throw that on the table. I don't mind if it goes to 30 k's. I just wonder if it's actually. Lastly, I've got two roughly drawn maps on there. One is colour coded. I apologise for not putting the key there. Nelson's Road, 4 k's wide to the Union Street with a wood factory in Middleborough. Doesn't make sense. You've got all these different speeds all around the place. Far simpler and far less confusing to change it to 50 k. So as James said also, when you drive into town, you're in a 50 k area, game over. When you leave town, back to open road. The next grant or the next chart I'm going to do working with the unit outside just shows where signage should basically be to show 50 k's. I personally would like to see the 50 k's out in the start Palliser. I appreciate that that's outside council putting you in state highway. But there's a lot of tourism up there and it would make sense. So that doesn't mean it will make it so. But basically from John's Way, as far as Olive Grove, I don't know, certainly probably from Canning Drive or at least from White Rock, 50 k back into town. I have a property on Dublin Street. It used to be open road down Dublin Street. And this goes past James's former vineyard. Not entirely sure what the speed limit there is currently. I believe it's 50. Given that there's a new subdivision down Sheeding Bus Road, possibly that might be a good point to have an entry site 50 k's where that new subdivision is. Are you guys familiar with that? That's the Rapaki subdivision. So basically, circle the town with 50 k signs, 30 k's in the middle if you must. Keep it simple, save a lot of money, and make it easy to comply with. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm just going to quickly ask James, in your first map, are you, sorry, Stuart, too many people this morning. Back to you, James. No, Stuart, can you just confirm your first map, yellow is 60 proposed,
Red is 40.
red is 40.
Green is 30. And then this little anomaly of blue.
Yes.
Blue with 80 k's. I don't quite get that. But
Okay, so that's what they're currently proposing. You've created a visualization of the current proposal. Perfect. Thank you very much. Councillor Plummer.
Yeah, thanks, James. And I suppose this is a question to you and sorry, Stuart and James, because you both presented pretty much the same proposal. I just want to make sure that
different.
you're quite happy to ring fence the school at a reduced rate.
Like,
Yeah.
for example, 40 k's with children present, that makes total.
Yeah, okay, so because I just wanted to make sure that you didn't miss that out in your submission. Okay, cool, thank you.
Okay. Further questions for Stuart?
Yeah, thank
Thank you
you.
both.
Awesome, sure.
Really great. Thank you for your time. And
Anyone here is-
that would be great. Then I can give it to Amy.
Please.
Well,
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much.
We will
Something
be
to do,
ready
yeah,
in weeks. So yeah, go.
yeah, what the hell is it?
Either online. Thank you.
Well,
Readers on.
Narita online. Good morning, Narita. I'll just point
Morning,
out, as I did Jenny, that I don't have my back to you out of just, but I need to speak to the microphone so that you can hear me. Committee members, Narita's submission is page 176 of the main pack, or pages 14 and 15 of the speakers pack for today. Narita, you have a total of 10 minutes to present to members today. It is suggested that you perhaps use the first 5 or 6 for presentation and allow a few minutes at the end for questions from members. And Amy will give you a wave at minute 9, just so that you know that you only have a minute left. When you're ready, please start your presentation.
Kia ora, morena tātou, ngā mihi, Madam Chair. Tēnei te mihi kia koutou katoa, te Māori e. So I'm doing, speaking to the submission on behalf of the Māori Standing Committee, and this one relates to the speed limits out front of the 3 marae, and agreeing to, or requesting to permanently reduce the speed limits in front of Hauriki, Papawai and Kohanui marae, coupled with new signage around naming the maraes and also the marae and pedestrian warning signs. None of our marae have these signs, and also the marae have, a special character in terms of the activities that happen at marae that can happen early in the morning till late at night and can actually continue for days. So our marae, especially Hauriki, it can accommodate quite a lot of people. So to see 200 plus people at Hauriki is not unusual, and it would be intergenerational. So expecting to see children and older kuia. Kohanui marae would be something similar on a day event. Papawai would also attract those kind of numbers as well. So the marae at the moment, all 3, none of them have pedestrian walking space. The car parking is usually on the front on the berm, or some are able to accommodate a bit of car parking on site. But we just feel that the speed limits need to slow down, especially Hauriki, which surprisingly was at 100 kilometres. And so we feel that 60 is probably a way better sign, but also being able to have a variable sign to slow it down even more when there's a lot happening at the marae, when there's a lot of people there. Kohanui, extraordinary, a little bit different there because it's that road that stretches all the way to Lake Ferry, and it's 100 kilometres, it's 40 kilometres of road. So with that in mind, we're also sort of looking to have a flip down supplementary speed limit sign. So at times when they have a lot of people and a lot of activity at the marae, they can put another warning sign to slow the speed down to possibly 40 kilometres. But having the marae signs, we feel is the advantage because it's now warning the driver that there is a marae nearby. And then we have the yellow signs of the pedestrian warning. It's now warning the driver that there is people about, and then the slower speed limit. So that's our submission on behalf of the Māori Standing Committee. Very much in favour. They really liked the approved NZTA signage for marae and pedestrian. So yeah, that's us.
Excellent.
Wonderful, thank you very much. My first question for you is from Councillor Maynard.
Narita, do you have a copy of the signage that you showed at the last MSC meeting, because of what the signage?
Yeah, is that not in the pack? That was part of the submission?
It's not in today's.
Not in today's, yeah.
Not in today's speakers pack, but it may well be within the wider pack, which will be part of consideration for deliberations, of course.
Yeah, I mean, I've got this. That's helpful.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, that is. That's just showing that what they actually look like.
Yeah, and I don't know if you've travelled between Otaki and Levin, there's a lot of signage, a lot of marae actually between Manukau and Kuku and places like that, and they've all had this new signage erected, and it looks great because there's numerous marae up there. The other thing that NZTA that have done is they've given some options of design motif on the signs. And the marae have all sort of selected something a bit synonymous to their marae. Papawai chose the Potama, which is like the steps of knowledge. Kohanui chose Patiki, which is the flounder, which is synonymous to them. And Hauriki chose the Harakiki. So they all chose a design that they feel is in relation to what their major activity, I think. Yeah.
Beautiful. Lovely. Okay.
I want to send it through.
Amy is just telling me that the NZTA signs that you just designs that you just shared with us did not come through in the official submission. So if you could please send those by email to Amy, she will make sure that all members receive them for consideration as part of the overall deliberation.
problem. Yeah, no
Thank
problem.
you. Any final questions for Nerida this morning? No, thank you very much for the presentation on behalf of the Māori Standing Committee. As I've mentioned to other submitters this morning, deliberations for speed management will happen in a fortnight, and both the written submissions and verbal submissions will be considered as part of that process.
Okay. Kia ora.
Thanks,
Te
Nerida.
waitora.
Thanks, Nerida. Bye.
Right, so we do have, well, we were intending to have Janaya Peterson and Julian Downs with us in this block. To date, we've not heard from them, so we will adjourn again. This will be potentially a longer adjournment because we do also have a scheduled break, and our next block of submission hearings will begin at 11:15 a.m. If I could just ask for perhaps 10 minutes, the next 10 minutes, if you just stay locally, just in case either Julian or Janaya do arrive, that would be much appreciated. And then feel free to take your break and be back just before 11:15.
So how locally, like?
For the next 10 minutes, if you could just stay sort of within this area,